3FM 927 and across our media platforms on Media General. I encourage you to join us and get the latest updates on what's going to happen in Parliament. We'll get to meet the candidates or the ministers designated a bit. And then we'll have a conversation with two gentlemen who have joined me in studio. Dr. Bernard Tutuboahin, the political strategist, and Hamza Suhini Shaibu, private legal practitioner, a member of the NDC's communications team. We'll get into that conversation in a bit. But first, we'll take a quick break. When we return from this break, we're on.
It's the battle of the teams in a 3FM 60-day Fit Start Challenge. Which team will come up tops? Will it be Team Comfort or Team Helen? Will age and tact act triumph? Or will youth and energy win? Call or WhatsApp on these numbers: 0532 300 927 or 0532 200 927. Now, to join Team Comfort or Team Helen and enjoy holistic wellness coaching, specialized diet plans, and cooking tutorials, thrilling exercises, challenges, and activities, plus many exciting rewards. 3FM Fit Start, sponsored by Daffy's Health and Beauty, Bill's Microfinance and Ugel Premier, and supported by Blue Skies and the Ghana Medical Association. 3FM Fit Start, your health, your journey, your victory.
3FM 92.7, Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
It's the battle of the teams in a 3FM 60-day Fit Start Challenge. Which team will come up tops? Will it be Team Comfort or Team Helen? Will age and tact act triumph? Or will youth and energy win? Call or WhatsApp on these numbers: 0532 300 927 or 0532 200 927. Now, to join Team Comfort or Team Helen and enjoy holistic wellness coaching, specialized diet plans, and cooking tutorials, thrilling exercises, challenges, and activities, plus many exciting rewards. 3FM Fit Start, sponsored by Daffy's Health and Beauty, Bill's Microfinance and Ugel Premier, and supported by Blue Skies and the Ghana Medical Association. 3FM Fit Start, your health, your journey, your victory.
Show to the world that when the African is given a chance, he can show to the world that he's somebody. We are waiting. We shall no more go back to sleep anymore. We are going to demonstrate to the world, to the other nations, young as we are, that we are prepared to lay our own foundation. As I said in the assembly just minutes ago, I made it point that we are going to say that we create our own African personality and identity. It's the only way in which we can show the world that we are ready for our own battle. But today...
And today in history, 1966, on the 24th of February, Ghana's first president, Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, was overthrown. That was his voice there. Dr. Bernard Tutuboahin is joining us. He's a political marketing strategist. Lawyer Hamza Shaibu Suhini is also a member of the NDC's communications team. He's also a private legal practitioner. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Good morning. How are we doing?
Good morning. Well, not as much as we would have loved, I'm sure.
I don't understand.
All the same, we thank God.
I don't understand you, Hamza.
Don't you want to be doing better than you are doing now?
Oh, of course, but you have life.
Absolutely. That's why I'm saying that not as much as we would have thought, we would have expected at least. But we thank God for what we have now.
I see. Doc, how about you?
Yeah, I always count on the grace and mercies of God.
Great. Let's begin the conversation from Parliament. I mean, have you been satisfied with how the vetting committee has conducted its business so far?
All right, so good morning to listeners. With regards to the vetting committee, as it has always been the norm, for me, I think that we are moving there. We are only hoping that one day we'll get there. And as it stands now, for me, we are not there yet. I am actually expecting, to be hearing, certain questions that actually reveals, the capabilities and competencies, of nominees. And so if I hear, straight endorsements that for you are okay, we know you can deliver, it sends to me signals that, we are actually putting national interest, aside. We tend to be gambling with it. In electing leaders, which is, of course, one of my research interests, I believe that Ghanaians are looking, or they are expecting something better from our leaders. With my paper on vice presidential candidates, I saw so many things that has pushed me into the leadership, governance and leadership, research. And what I am seeing is that, we cannot be asking questions which does not actually reveal, the competence of people, the capabilities of people, the ability to solve, national problems, the abilities to innovate, and the abilities to show leadership in their designations. And so I am actually expecting that, certain questions, no matter your political affiliation, the questions that you ask, if you are an NDC person and you are asking a question, those questions is not, I'm not saying that you should expose the weaknesses of people, but if that happens, so what? I mean, questions that would actually ensure that the people that your party selects and make them to lead, the president's agenda, are questions that will help the president's cause. If you are an MPP person and you are asking questions, and it is not about politics of exposure, then I expect that you ask questions, that will be of a national benefit, and that will serve the national interest. And so I think that I've not seen that yet. And even to the extent that certain questions tends to be too personal, because you have some scores to settle with certain nominees. You ask certain questions that tend to be personal. In fact, I think that the Ghanaian is asking so many questions about what actually happened, during some of these processes. And as I said earlier, we are moving. We are going. Heaven knows where we are going.
Should we not chart the path we want to and get a destination? We should have a plan. We can't continue just going, because the Fourth Republic is the most enduring of all the republics. But it does appear that we keep achieving less.
Yeah, so you see, Johnny, that is it. I have always questioned, the abilities and capabilities of our own parliamentarians. All right. I'm not saying that they are not capable. But you see, when sometimes you listen to some of these questions, then of course you are asking that as a teacher in the classroom, examining your students, if you set a bad question, you get bad answers.
That's right.
All right. So if parliamentarians, based on the knowledge that they have, based on the experiences that they have, the trainings, and all that. If you are asking bad questions, what do you expect? You see, but Johnny, even if we set a national course, a national direction,
right.
Whatever, and the people who are supposed to be the vehicle that will carry us to that destination are not.
They should be of a certain quality.
You understand?
I get you. Let me draw in Hamza. Hamza, let me ask you perhaps the same question. You know, you see a lot of lawyers on the table, and you lawyers do a lot of cross-examination and, you know, very, hard-hitting questions. Do you think the lawyers around the table are dishing it out the way they have to dish it out?
Absolutely not, to be honest with you. And I think that what happens there is more political than legal or anything close to the sectorial nominees before them. So I think that the starting point is to see it as a political contest, which is quite disappointing because with the experience that we've had as a republic, one would have hoped that platforms like that would be used to actually ascertain the capabilities of those that have been appointed to lead.
Agreed.
So, but unfortunately, that is not what is happening there. And for me, that is my disappointment. And it is difficult to blame the majority in that regard, because if you notice, most of the questions that the majority side of that committee asks basically borders on performance or capabilities of these appointees in those respective ministers. But anytime the minority leader takes the wheels, clearly would swim straight into the political arena where it is being used as a platform to set, if you like, maybe according to their version of records that preceded the elections. And I have always said that I think that the speaker needs to take an interesting position when it comes to vetting of nominees. Is it not possible for the speaker to, for instance, direct that whatever happens during elections should be left off when it comes to the vetting of nominees?
Even if it relates to the office that the person is going to hold?
Maybe some of these questions, based on the discretion of the chairman, may be allowed, depending on how relevant that the chairman feels that those questions are. But you agree with me that largely what happens has nothing to do with substance of what the person is coming to do. It is simply an opportunity to correct in their version of what they call the political wrongs that their nominees committed against them. And that is why it's difficult to say that the vetting committee is living up to expectation. So if you ask me a question, is it living up to expectation? It's difficult for me to say yes, because I have my reservations. There are so many opportunities that it presents for us as a republic to take advantage of and ensure that we get people to man various departments or ministries that, in fact, they are qualified to man. Let me give you a classical example today. The environmental sector, in terms of energy transition, is a milk cow for most African countries. Because the Western world is interested in that particular space. The question is, how are we positioning ourselves in this country to take advantage of that? Even the nominees that have been nominated by the president, for instance, the minister in charge of energy and climate transition, when you monitor the vetting, did you see any questions related to that sector of energy transition and climate governance? Absolutely not. But the Western world is looking at us. We have more than in excess of about 13 billion that we can bring into this country just because of energy transition and climate governance. Hello. But you have our MP seated there. They have little understanding of that space. They simply do not appreciate how we can take advantage by their questions alone. Because the international community is monitoring. The World Bank is monitoring. The IMF is monitoring. Our development partners are watching.
So they want to know who you are bringing.
They want to know
if the person is competent enough to hold the person that they want to use for that purpose.
So at the end of the day, they don't get to hear those questions that matter. It affects your funding. And that is why I've always said that. It is not the foreign minister and the president who must act as ambassadors of your country. The number one ambassadors of any democratic dispensation is actually our members of parliament. Because they must conduct themselves in ways that can bring confidence in our governance system. Because most of our foreign partners, our multilateral organizations, are interested in issues of accountability, policing of the public purse. And there's no better platform to effectively coordinate that than Parliament. But if they see you on TV and all what you engage in is turning tables around, fighting about needless political battles, when you should be using that platform to market and convince people to bring funds into your country, then clearly you are not worth your salt.
Now, today we'll have vetting for deputy ministers designate. What should they be doing differently, Doc?
You see, I think myself and lawyer, we are saying the same thing. All right. So,
which means that generally then Ghanaians will be saying the same thing.
Yes. You see,
and that's quite disappointing then. Yes. If the totality, or if you like a large majority of the population think that you are not living up to the expectation, then there's a problem.
Yes. So, if it is anything, you see, I like the idea of a new direction that President Mahama is trying to set, trying to bring in some, individuals who are not in and out politicians.
Right.
And Johnny, you remember some time ago on your platform I talked about professionalism.
That's right.
Bringing in professionals.
That's right.
You see the example that lawyer cited with regards to the climate change, counting. You see, what the international community is actually expecting, the individual that you have, nominated to lead that cause.
Right.
When that person does not have that kind of knowledge, understanding, to be able to fit into the global discourse, all right, what kind of argument is the person going to churn out?
But how would we know, or how would the international community know, as lawyer said, if you are not asking the question? So then that brings me to my next question. Is it too difficult for the members of parliament around the vetting table to go to the expert to say, Chief, Madam, today we are going to vet Broja Jemfi, who's deputy minister designate for defense. What could we possibly ask him, looking at the terrain? You find security expert, Professor Vladimir Ntwidanso, and then you say, give me 2 or 3 suggested questions. I mean, you go around and then you can sit down as an educated person and how difficult is that?
You're talking about something that should be done differently.
Yes.
So probably in the long term, right? Now, you see, if you are bringing a minister of defense who himself has no experience in defense, all right, does not have any military training, hasn't joined any of the security agencies, has never gone to war before, doesn't really understand the whole concept of security, all right, then, of course, who nominated him? That is where the problem starts.
The politicians make the argument that you don't necessarily need somebody within the field.
I don't belong to that.
Because they have a certain architecture led by a chief director who knows the field. They have technocrats, advisors, and all of that.
I don't believe in that argument. Because you are the face, like you rightly said, the ambassador. All right. So you are the first point of call. So if you are going for, let's say, a global meeting on defense, and people are using terminologies, they are using certain phrases which you don't understand, it means that you must wait, and then when you go to your hotel room, that is where the technocrat is going to explain to you.
That will be too late.
That will be too late. Assuming you mount a platform to speak, and there are certain keywords that you have wrongly used based on that advice of a technocrat, how do you know? You understand?
I get it.
When it comes to strategic decisions on defense that you have to take, and in the absence of your technocrat, what do you do? So that is where it is. All right. So my point is that I can't say that every appointee should be an expert, but there should be sensitive areas where you require expertise. Now, Johnny, you see, in the long term, as we are moving as a country, in our democratic dispensation, probably, when we are having such vetting, for us to know the competencies, the strengths, and the learning capabilities of some of these nominees, we probably may want to bring in, a professional, to sit and also have his turn of questioning.
Right.
So that, let's assume that Brigadier Jemfi's case, for instance, there is a military expert in there. When all questions have been asked, then he will come in to ask certain technical questions, to, as it were, understand whether this person is ready for the job or not. All right.
So you are proposing that we have a technical person around the table.
Around the table.
But somebody made the argument the other time, and Frank, quickly, so I go to back to council. Somebody made the argument the other time that, look, perhaps our best finance minister ever in this country, in the Fourth Republic, the late Professor Kwesi Botwe.
Yeah.
He's not a finance person.
He's an economist, right?
No, he's a lawyer with the instinct of economics and all of that. But
yeah.
I mean, he's not the big boy.
I know he has background in economics.
Yes, but somebody made the argument that, look, his specialty was the law. But look at how he managed the economy and steered it.
He actually followed an interest in law.
Right.
All right. He followed interest in law. But he had a background in economics.
Right.
Economics and finance move together. So, and per the experiences that he had, he understood us at that time, the economic situation globally.
Right.
And the Ghanaian terrain. And so he also made use of the technocrats there to complement the effort that he was also putting up. You see, so that was one of the things that also made him. And you see, his personality, as possible, could stand Rollins and explain things to him. He could stand and make his points and work with his ideas and decisions. So these are some of the things that you may want to find out during vetting. The person who is there, even if you are not an expert, are you a man of yourself?
Okay. Council, what do you say on this one? Do you subscribe to the thought that
I don't.
A lawyer should go to the Ministry of Justice and Attorney General, a finance person to the Finance Ministry,
unfortunately,
an architect or what do you get, an engineer to the route? What do you say?
Then we must as well be looking for a president who is all-rounded when it comes to.
He should have.
But that's just.
He should have 15 degrees.
Yeah. That's just an aside. But you see, I can understand the frustration of Doc and the reason why he's making such an observation. Sound, especially when it comes to some specific sectors of our economy. I also believe that when it comes to political appointments, especially to occupy the role of ministerial, to do ministerial functions, I do not think that you really need to be hiring people who are specially trained in certain specific areas, largely because their role is policy direction and to provide leadership in line with the president's vision.
Right.
So what needs to be done, what you can probably recommend is that they should find amicable ways of working with the civil servants who are already appointed. It is not for nothing that our laws make provisions for the role of the chief director to assist the minister, especially when it comes to the policy implementation.
Right.
So what you are there to do, you maybe some basic knowledge of your sector, fair enough. But an example you gave, the military. You really do not need a retired military officer to be defense minister or deputy defense minister because the laws are clearly spelled out. So even a lawyer who understands the acts regulating the sector and the rules and regulations that regulate the sector can equally be a defense minister.
One of our best defense ministers, for example, Dr. Kwame Adokufo.
Yeah. He was not. He was a medical doctor, just like we have now, Dr. Omane Boama.
Right.
So,
but we have not seen Omane Boama.
Of course, we have not. But
in that space,
right. That's true. But the point I am simply making is that I can understand that concern, but in truth, I don't think that it is something we should be really worried about, especially when their rules are basically to drive policy direction of the ruling government. What needs to be done is that if they have some appreciable knowledge of how that sector functions, fair enough. but they must not necessarily be expert of the sector. Undoubtedly, there are some areas that you cannot help but to have an expert man. A place like the Minister of Finance. I've always argued that if you go and hire a lawyer to be Minister of Finance, he may not even understand what a closing balance in a book is, let alone how to put figures together to avoid inflation and, if you like, depreciation of your city. So clearly, you need someone with training in that sector to be Minister of Finance. Again, when it comes to a sensitive area like national security, undoubtedly, you need someone with some level of appreciable knowledge.
Why should we vary the standards for different ministries? Because education is critical, agric is critical, energy is critical, the economy is critical, and security is critical.
You see,
why should we vary it?
We are not varying it. All what I'm trying to tell you is that, you see, some of them are there. For instance, a lawyer can be an education minister. Because when it comes to the educational sector, in truth, sometimes all you need is to put the experts together based on your policy direction. So, for instance, if President Mahama says that he's going to review free senior high school, you don't need an education minister who has taught or he's a teacher for years. Even a lawyer, education minister, should be able to put up a committee like Honorable Haruna Iddrisu has done to start the processes that will lead up to the review through the national consultations that are ongoing. So all what I'm saying is that some of the sectors are there. Yes, you think that education is a special field and requires an educationist to be education minister. I disagree. Because sometimes in order for you to have innovation in a sector, you need to bring in people from different areas. Like we saw under Dr. Kwame Adokufo, when he moved from health to defense. Right. He's been celebrated up to date in terms of the interventions that he brought. And so that is why I'm saying that we should not tie ourselves down by making it difficult for this country to progress. My problem with this country probably has to do with the so-called experts.
What?
That, in truth, the inertia associated with their activities, they don't move. If you have dealt with them, unfortunately, excuse my language, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. They don't move. And when it comes to political decisions, you need some level of energy. You need some level of forthrightness, to be forthright. You need some level of some appetite for change.
Political gra-gra, you mean?
Absolutely. But they lack it. Most of them don't know it. That versatility is not there.
The reason is between knowledge and practice.
Okay.
You see, so
is there a gap?
Yeah, in fact, there's a serious gap. Now, my exposure in politics is different from when I was not exposed to politics.
Okay.
All right. So
when you were minding your business in a lecture hall, researching and doing your things,
that one is different.
And you are not coming on TV and radio to mind. It was different.
Actually, you wouldn't understand the depth of politics. So when you are given that nod, it becomes problematic. You now must switch, and in switching, you are careful. So that's why in academia we talk of calculated risk.
Okay.
All right. But you see, I understand. You see, both of us will probably have our disagreements. But for me, I believe in this, that in as much as you wouldn't need an expert, a professional, to manage a ministry, you also may want to understand this, that you see, the world now is moving towards a certain direction where knowledge counts. So if Adokufo had succeeded based on the notion that he wasn't an expert, is it the same
within that field?
Yes.
But he's an expert in the medical field.
Yes. Is it the same today? Now, again, you see, leadership is not just about expertise alone. You have a combination of traits coming together to make you a leader. You may not be an expert in the area though, but your personality, your relationship, your network wealth probably can put you in that direction where, you get people within the field working for you so that it will cover your weaknesses. And I believe that Adokufo showed that kind of traits. He didn't actually demonstrate that kind of expertise himself, but the people that were within his networks, who he was working with, the military guys, how he associated with them, and the kind of bond that existed with them, made them to deliver, cover him up, so that we didn't see. What if you get somebody who will go and then lord over them? What will happen? Probably it will expose him, or they will even be sleeping, and then it will expose this minister, to the highest level. All right. So my point is that apart from even considering that issue of expertise, certain traits, certain, beliefs, we need to be sure that the vetting committee is able to bring some of these things out. Your tolerance level. You understand? So that when you are overwhelmed by certain, incidents, you wouldn't just come out and be talking anyhow, or putting certain information there which may not be palatable to the good people of this country.
You earlier spoke about sorry,
Doc, you see, the point we are making here boils down to leadership. So you are narrowing down
the best in the morning
on the fact that it basically has little to do with expertise when it comes to the manning of these institutions.
I said it's a combination.
Exactly, but you see, the overriding factor is leadership.
Right.
Even if you are an expert and you lack the necessary leadership skills to run an institution or an organization, you will still be a failure.
That is it.
And that is why it is not for nothing that our constitution is created the way that, or designed the way it has been designed. Because they understand that there are certain places where we need experts, and there are certain places where you need people to provide leadership, and they may not necessarily be experts in the field. That is why we have this layer of civil servants, public servants, and to some extent the departmental heads and ministers of state. And when it comes to the role of ministers of state, it is not for nothing again that our constitutional architecture makes provision for cabinet. So even if you have a minister who is lacking in terms of a specific area, but has the requisite leadership experience to drive change, that shortfall can be made up for in cabinet, because at cabinet meetings, experts are brought, specific areas, even brief cabinet, for decisions to be taken holistically. So when you see a minister seated as Minister of Defense, it doesn't mean that the ministry will be driven by the minister's own thinking, but it's going to be collective. Cabinet decisions will be taken to drive the ministry. The minister is assisted by experienced experts who have manned the ministry as civil servants for years. He's better placed to rely on that knowledge or experience to be able to fit into the government's policy direction at the end of the day. So that is why I'm saying that we should not belabor the point by saying that, look, we need experts to man certain areas, not necessarily to be in charge of the ministries. I don't agree with that. Maybe specific areas, I agree, like I indicated, Minister of Finance. But at the end of the day, Johnny, the issue...
We're looking for results.
We are looking for results. So if the person can give us results, and it's not even an educationist and it's Minister of Education, why not? When Haruna Idrisu became Minister for Communications, that was when interoperability, what's the name?
Interoperability.
Interoperability, I always get the word wrong.
Interoperability.
Yeah. That was when it started under him. He had no degree or experience in communications. But he excelled in that ministry.
So you see, the Adokufo,
it is because of the leadership
we're talking about. Yes. So Haruna, when he was even appointed Minister for Education, within UTAG, we all celebrated. Why? Because of his personality.
Okay.
You understand? And we believe that Haruna is an achiever.
Right.
And he's someone who is committed again to the national cause.
Right.
And every ministry that he has been to, he has excelled.
So that's why you are happy.
Yes. It's not because of his knowledge in education.
Within the field.
But you see, he has...
Then you agree with council that, it takes leadership.
Yes, I agree. So my initial point was about leadership. All right. And the fact that a leader should be able to channel visions that, others would work for.
Right.
All right. I agree with him. And
like General Kutwe Champong, the man who fed all of us without making
you understand.
plenty,
And to me,
plenty waves about it.
And to me, a Champong is the best president Ghana has ever gotten. We have over celebrated in Nkrumah. All right. No,
let's not go there,
yes.
Doc.
Let's
not go there.
Yes. But
Nkrumah,
this is where
did well, but definitely no literature can compare them.
Yes. So this is what I have seen.
Okay.
That in my analysis of presidents, I realized that a Champong did not inherit anything.
Okay.
He came and even called the bluff of our donor agencies and countries.
If every president did that,
Yentia.
You
remember?
Yes, I remember Yentia.
You remember Yentia?
Yes.
And the fact that
Apollo 502 and all of that.
You understand? All these problems coming during that time. What did you do? Operation Feed Yourself. Okay.
And then Operation Feed the Industry.
And the yellow kiosk concept to make food accessible, And as at that time, our inflation was one of the highest in the world. What did he do? Even as at the time he was leaving, we have moved from that high inflation to a lower inflation figure.
We digress. Let me ask you a question. You made an earlier point about a minister being his or her own self.
Exactly.
If you look at President Mohammed's cabinet and the list of persons he's naming as deputy ministers, they're very youthful.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, can the youth deliver? Looking at where we are now and the burden President Mahama is carrying on his head, can the youth deliver?
You see, it's yes and no, because if the youth cannot deliver, then we have also seen that the old age can equally not deliver. All right.
The old age have failed us.
They have failed.
Yeah, we have seen that.
And we have also seen that some youth, who have been appointed have all equally failed.
Right.
All right. I see that the youth will need some kind of experiences and guidance, to get in there. So if the president is now appointing, deputy ministers who are young, relatively young, then probably what he's trying to suggest is that get in there and go and learn and behave as apprentice and make sure that by the time you are probably leaving, you might have gained a lot of experiences, knowledge, and expertise that even if in the future I am by myself appointing you into a full minister or any other president is appointing you into a full minister, you might probably be able to use your experiences, to influence, the economy. And so I think it is good he does that. I know that the late president, J.E. Mills, did a similar thing when he brought a lot of young guys as deputy ministers and directors.
That's right.
And as at the time, he died and President Mahama came. Right. Most of them were quite matured, to lead. And these are the people that, actually held the front for the NDC as a party, even up to now. And I think that it is a good thing to, give the youth that kind of chance so that I know that people have developed careers in politics, and once the person has shown interest to develop his career in politics, the person should be given that kind of opportunity, to be trained. And what is left now is that, you see, the youth should be ready to learn.
Okay.
Because politics comes with power.
Right.
And whilst you have power and you don't exercise the power rightly, if you are not careful, you are going to destroy your own political career.
Council, you have a closing thought.
I think
can the youth deliver?
Oh, they can.
Look at President Mohammed, why he's choosing young people, and everybody's asking questions. Why is he choosing young people?
But
don't you have old people in your party?
No, we do. I think that following his politics, clearly, this is a president who is unwilling to feature people who are in their 60s or over 60 years. Because clearly, even our laws makes it quite clear that at 60 you should consider retirement, unless, of course, you are given a contract of 2 years.
Right.
And this is something we've been complaining about over the years. So
let
if you
the
have
retirees go and let the young go.
If a new president with a promise to reset Ghana comes and he's living up to expectation in terms of empowering the youth, he should be commended, because clearly many of his star appointees, even when he was first elected president in 2013, were young people, the likes of now Minister of Government Communications, Felix Ofosu-Kwakye, doing wonderfully well.
Right.
I'm sure you would agree with us. Then Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa, Sam George, and the likes. These were all these are all young appointees under him, who at least served with some integrity.
Right.
And even after leaving office, we've not been able to make references to any iota of corrupt allegations against any of them. So it's commendable. We have the track record when it comes to the youth, especially in the National Democratic Congress. So we are only hoping that those who are given the opportunity now to serve will emulate that good example from their senior ones in the system now. You see, their conduct in office will determine whether a future president would have that confidence in the youth or not. So it is a golden opportunity that they should take seriously and keep the doors open for many other young people, depending on how they conduct themselves there. But you see, my only concern, Johnny,
yes, sir,
has to do with how many of them have been trusted into office.
Okay.
I have a problem with it.
Why do you have a problem with it?
I think a chunk of them haven't had the opportunity of working in the civil service or the public service, if you like.
That's correct.
So they are coming either from the private sector. The culture there is quite different.
That's right.
One would have expected some national security training even before they assume offices.
I see.
To understand the inner workings of this
how things are done there.
How things are done there. That is why you get, especially when it comes to the appointment of the CEOs, that's why you see civil servants in the various departments printing big banners, welcoming them, an opportunity to trap them, because they know they are the politicians. So before you realize, they are putting things on your decks to sign, to say thank you for those who accompanied you to the place, your first day at work.
The banner,
they have started
you say the banner is a trap?
Yes. But of course, most of them are a trap. They are lobbying techniques. You don't know that they are lobbying techniques, because who has asked them to print any banner? And that is the reason why I am concerned.
Is it now an offense to welcome your minister?
But was it done in the past?
We are welcoming you.
So for me, I think that is what they have to look out for. So I would have expected some sort of training. Let them understand how civil servants, especially in this country, they work, and the possible traps that one could be getting into, and how to be careful upon assumption of office.
Great.
Sometimes even the dressing matters, but people don't know that.
Yeah. Right.
Suddenly, people, when you begin wearing expensive brands, the country may not easily pick it up, especially if you are somebody who appears on TV. But our embassies, that is when they begin to make a government unpopular. They fund the process, because they see you wearing a $10,000 or $20,000 watch that you used not to wear when you were in opposition on national television, even in their countries that they don't get to buy outright cash. So they begin to appreciate that, look, this government is also going on the wavelength of corruption.
Gentlemen, so you're telling them to be careful?
They must be careful, because our future is at stake. I'm a young person.
I hear you.
I don't want them to misuse that opportunity so that in the future I may be denied a similar opportunity.
It's actually not a bargain.
Great. I hear you. Dr. Bernard Tutubuahin is a political strategist. Thank you very much, Doc. And Hamza Suhini Shaibu is a private legal practitioner, a member of the NDC's National Communications team. Gentlemen, thank you for spending your morning here with us. Christian Yale is in Parliament. Chris, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, Johnny.
What's happening in Parliament? Who's appearing before the committee today?
All right, Johnny. So we know that today about 4 ministers are billed to appear before the appointment committee for their vetting. And so today, out of the 4, we know that 3 who are deputy ministers, and then there is 1 who is a minister of state. And so by way of running you through the names that we have here, we know that today Lydia Lamisi Akamvariba is a minister of state, public sector reforms. She would be the first to appear before the appointment committee for her vetting. After her, subsequently, we are going to have Thomas Ampemianko, who is a deputy minister designate for the Ministry of Finance. He will come. After him, we also have Ebenezer Oklete Telabi, who is the deputy minister for the Ministry of Interior. And then finally, for today, we would have Samson Ahi, who is the deputy minister, Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry. And so these are the 4 ministers, or 3 ministers, deputy ministers, and then 1 minister of state who are expected to appear before the appointment committee.
Chris, I thank you very much. Now, if you look into the chamber now, the committee members, in fact, the committee room, have they turned up yet? Are you seeing them coming in their numbers?
No, not yet. It is just about now that I see few of them walking in.
Right.
A few of the members are just now walking in.
Right.
I've seen the deputy minority leader Patricia Piaget walk in, as well as members on the majority side. That MP who always wishes them luck and then says bye-bye on top of it. Ladi Ayamba,
right.
He's also walked in. I've just seen Frank Anodompre walking, as well as the deputy majority leader, the person of the deputy majority leader is here as well. The name is just eluding me, but I've also seen the minority leader, Alexander Freeman, walking just now. And so it just looks like the committee is taking form right now. With the members in. I'm yet to see the chairperson himself, but I can also confirm to you that security is very tight here. Even with the media, we would have to get accreditation before we enter. So it is just a selected media.
Chris, tell me, have the microphones been replaced? The broken microphones, the broken tables, have they been replaced?
Exactly. They've all been fixed.
Even before the MPs who broke them were surcharged?
No, we are still waiting for that report from the committee that investigated it, and then to also see the other sanctions that the Speaker or the House would profess against those who are found culpable. But we know that those who were suspended were reinstated, for instance. So we look forward to how the sanctions are going to be and the ramifications thereof. But the tables are fixed. The microphones are in
Thank you
order.
very much, Chris Yali. We're grateful for your time. That's our man, Chris Yali from Parliament. And let's quickly do birthdays and wrap up.